The following program is sponsored by Investment Property Experts. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and guests, and not necessarily the opinions of this radio station and its affiliates. All information, materials, and estimated returns discussed or presented are for educational purposes only. All services described are optional and are provided by Investment Property Experts, its affiliates, and independent third parties. All listeners are encouraged to consult with their attorney, accountant, or financial advisors before entering into any type of investment. Millionaires are made in times like these, so if you're ready to become one, then this show is for you. This is Investment Property Experts, where you'll learn the secrets and strategies for earning top dollars in today's growing Arizona real estate market. And now, your host of Investment Property Experts, CEO Daniel Butterfield.
Hello and welcome to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, founder and CEO of Investment Property Experts, where we provide turnkey real estate related investments. Now, what I mean by that is we can help you buy investment properties, but not just any old investment properties that are already occupied with tenants, which means you're buying a turnkey real estate solution, and we can even provide you with the financing along with that purchase so you can leverage. Now, leverage provides you a much higher return than buying with all cash, and that's the key to earning enough money so you can retire in the time frame that you want to retire. Now, on top of that, we have something called deed of trust investments, and that's where you can earn a 9% return on your investment. And this is where you're lending money to either IPX, Investment Property Experts, or lending money to one of our other clients that are purchasing properties. So that means we have two investments. We have the growth investment, and we also have the cash flow investment. Now, a lot of investors or clients will come to our office and they can't decide which investment they want to participate in. And that's where we bring them down a process to figure out exactly what their needs are. How much money do they feel they need to retire? How much cash flow do they need? How much of a return are they looking to get on their investment? How much risk do they want to take? And once we bring them down that path, we're able to guide them into the proper investment, whether it's the growth investment, the deed of trust investment, or the growth investment or the deed of trust investment. I was going to give you another option, but there is no other option. So I have some special guests here today. I have Julie Weisenbach, who's part of our investor sales team. Julie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hi, Daniel. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I also have a very special guest, Brian Rogerson, who's the Senior Vice President of Wallach & Volk, in charge of helping us with all of our conventional financing for all of our investors. Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks.
So I was kind of thinking about, so have you ever, Brian, reflected on your life? And it's getting pretty deep. No, I'm not going to cry. and just kind of you look back and, you and I both know that we've done some pretty amazing things, okay? Julie as well, okay? Actually, I'm going to speak about Julie for a second because you've been here for like a year.
Yes.
And you have elevated yourself to a point within the organization that has done some pretty amazing things. I just want to thank you for that, okay?
Well,
I don't want this all to be about Brian and I for a second. But no, Brian, when we reflect back on our life, we're pretty arrogant and confident about all these great things that we've accomplished, and we know that we're very different than a lot of people. And have you ever just taken a moment to think, why? Okay, and where I'm going with this is I was having that reflection today with Investment Property Experts, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, okay, I know I work hard. I know that I don't mind putting in the extra hours. I know that I care. I know that I look out for people's welfare, whether it's our investors or whether it's our team members or whether it's my family and or friends for that matter. But then I kind of had come to the conclusion that part of what makes Investment Property Experts so successful is that we are able to identify what trend we're in, whether it's an uptrend, a medium trend, or even a downtrend. And then I started thinking back during the crash, when the crash was occurring. I remember I pulled back and I revised my investment strategy to bypass a lot of the hurt that the crash created for most real estate investors. And as a result, I came out alive, not unscarred, but alive. And I always use the analogy of Bubba Gump. What do you call it? Forrest Gump, Bubba Gump, where Forrest Gump went shrimping. He couldn't catch any shrimp until the hurricane came, and then he came back from his outing, and there were no more competitors, and all of a sudden he caught a lot of shrimp. That's how I feel my investment company acted, because after the crash, there were no more real, investors like me out there doing anything. So we had the lay of the land. We were able to create our own rules, and there was no competition. Now, the beauty was, once we started gaining momentum, we had a lot of copycatters come out. Like people try to act like us, walk like us, and so I watched them, and I remember all the team members were like, "Well, aren't you concerned?" No, I'm not concerned. I know how tough our business is. I know what we have to do to make ourselves successful. And honestly, anyone that can compete with me or even beat me, I would shake their hand and punch them in the face. Pat them on the back and really congratulate them for having accomplished the same hurdles that I've accomplished. But lo and behold, as of today, people have yet to be able to compete with us, because I know the challenges that face investment real estate in general, but more importantly, I know what it takes to understand the trends and how to make tough decisions during emotional times to make sure that we're making money and our investors are making money. And so the topic that I want to talk about are trends.
Well, I think for sure the difference between you and I and a lot of the people that we compete against is that we believe in the concept of differentiate or die. So we don't just do things the same old way year in and year out. We're ahead of the curve. We see where things are going. The mortgage industry is changing all the time. You have to be able to adjust to what's happening in advance, not as a result of it. If you don't, you end up behind the eight ball. And then with regards to your competition, so to speak, imitation's the greatest form of flattery, but they can never actually perform the same level. They can't do the same things. They're posers. They like to talk, and they say it's all the same, but it's not. And I deal with that in the mortgage industry. You deal with that in real estate investing. It's just a natural phenomenon. When you're at the top of the equation, people want to imitate you, but often imitated, never duplicated type of thing, and that's what's going on here, which is great. It's a great place for the investor family of IPX to sit back and realize my money's at the right place. All these people are out there trying to do the exact same thing, which means it's credible and it can be done and there's money to be made, but it'll never be the same as it is at IPX.
And so you know what, Julie, I'm going to give you another compliment. So ever since you came on board and you've taken the lead in the investor sales department, you've allowed me to do what I do best, which is identify the next best thing. And people have heard me talk about some of the land investing that we're doing. And, I've yet to roll that out because I'm formulating a master strategy for investors to get involved at the right time. But as everyone knows, we put our own money into each of these investments. We prove out the plan. We prove out the strategy. We make sure the returns are there. And that's when we finally will roll out the investment strategy to our clients after we've already proven it. But by you taking the lead on the investor sales side, you've allowed me to identify the new trends. So as we progress during the show, we're going to start talking about some of these new trends. We're going to talk about why we're always going to stay 7 steps ahead. And guys, if you want to understand what kind of returns we can make you, then you should consider attending the next workshop, which is the interactive workshop where we're going to review different investments that other investors have bought and look at the returns. November 10th. Call us 602-254-6244 or investmentpropertyexperts.com.
Real estate investing has never been easier. Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. And now, your host, CEO Daniel Butterfield.
Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, CEO and founder of Investment Property Experts. We're here talking about trends, identifying different trends in the market so that we can capitalize on utilizing our investment capital to make more money. Let's face it, back in 2008 when the crash occurred, people had a chunk of the retirement taken from them. Back in 2001, the same thing happened. And right now, everyone's trying to get it back. And really, they're not all trying to get it back. Some people are just treading water. Some people are scared, hiding in their shelter. And some people are finally starting to make some moves. But let me be clear. When you take a look at the technical indicators of the Phoenix real estate market right now today and where the market's going, regardless of the election results, the market is going to continue to grow in Phoenix based on the supply, demand, and the technical indicators that we see right now. And then when we provide leverage along with your purchase, it's almost like cheating. It's like cheating because you're only putting 20% down. You're leveraging your capital. You're buying a property that has equity. It's cash flowing, and it's appreciating based on the technical indicators.
Yeah, and you're doing so at rates that have nowhere to go but up. So as interest rates go up, as they will eventually in this marketplace, real estate value goes with it. The market's appreciating despite these low interest rates. So when you combine interest rates going up a tick, the appreciation goes with it. People often don't understand that they actually go together, that low rates actually aren't the greatest thing for appreciation. A little bit of an increase creates a ton of appreciation, and that's the next boom that we're about to have.
So you just gave me this funny idea, okay? So we have our interactive workshop on November 10th, right, Julie?
Yes.
5:30 p.m., November 10th. You're going to be there. I'm going to be there. And we're looking at all these properties that we sold to investors. And then we're going to look at the results of how much they resold those properties for. So literally, investors are going to be able to take a look at properties that IPX had sold to their clients, and we're going to be able to take a look at the returns that these investors made after IPX helped them resell those properties. It's called the Interactive Workshop. It's a fun workshop where we'll serve some drinks, we'll serve some food. There's a lot of interaction, which is probably why we named it the Interactive Workshop. And but here's what I have a question for Julie, okay? How do I address this? How do I address investors saying, yeah, well, that was, a property that sold in 2012, and then the investor resold it in 2014. How do I know that you can repeat that trend for in the future?
Well, I would say we're in a similar situation right now. 2016 is very similar to what we experienced during that time. And so if today's an appreciating market and we're selling property, on a certain street or a certain neighborhood for a certain price, we're going to see very similar scenarios to what we're showing them happened in the past.
And that's exactly correct. We're looking at the technical indicators of the market today, correct, and they are mimicking the technical indicators of 2011 and 2012. And mathematically, we can prove to ourselves that we're going to get similar returns in the market, a similar performance in the market as we did in 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014. And so it used to bother me when people would ask that question. Well, I know you did a deal 2-3 years ago, but how do I know you can repeat that deal? Mm-hmm. And I used to say, well, I mean, I can't prove to you that the deal is going to be, perfect in the future. Oh, can you provide a guarantee? No, we can't provide a guarantee. That's like illegal to try to say, I guarantee it's going to work out for you, because you never know. But you can hedge your bets. You can hedge your risk by looking at the technical indicators. And so for those of you that want to get a copy of the Cromford Report to look at the technical indicators, all you have to do is call 602-254-6244. And also you can register for the interactive workshop at that time, 602-254-6244.
Well, the other side of the equation, which hasn't been discussed, is it's a supply and demand issue. In 2012, the supply versus demand was different than it is today, yet look at the appreciation. Today, there is no supply, and there's a high demand, and that demand is going to continue to grow. There were a ton of people that qualified to buy property in 2012, but that pales in comparison to what's available now to buy property, because they're boomerang buyers, and their 7-year wait or their 4-year wait or whatever their wait period was from their derogatory event has already taken place. They weren't available to buy in 2012. All these buyers are rushing to the marketplace. They can't find property.
Brian, I'd like to tiptoe off of that, because you're absolutely right. The inventory is low, and IPX has inventory that you can't find anywhere else. In fact, all of our properties are only available to IPX investors, IPX family, people that we work with and that we call our family, because truly we are a team and we work together and we provide what you can't get on MLS or from another real estate agent or company.
You know what? When you say that, I don't really believe people really understand the true meaning to that. we've had investors throughout the years really support investment property experts. They have the faith and confidence that we are skilled enough to be able to take care of their investment capital, to provide a return, to handle problems when problems occur. Because let's face it, in real estate, you have problems, but we are great problem solvers. And that is also why we have loyalty back to our clients as a number one priority. And what I mean by that is we've identified some other trends, okay? And these other trends are extremely high yielding trends in the market. And I'm not just talking Phoenix, okay? And so since we've identified these trends and we have agreed that we want to offer up these opportunities to our IPX clients, to our IPX family members, because the bottom line is this. The trends that we've identified will attract attention from institutional level investors, no doubt. With the returns that are there, the investors that have bottomless pockets will be lining up outside our door to participate with the trends that we've identified. However, we first have loyalty to our individual investors that have bought properties or deeds of trust. And then after we pacify them, we make them happy, we make sure that their coffers are full, then we'll go to the next, which might probably be the institutional level investor. And notice that I sort of skipped the new investor, okay? Mm-hmm. And the reason is because I am not as comfortable working with a new investor that just wants to do this over here, okay? I'm comfortable with the people that have supported IPX, that have helped us grow, that have gotten to know us. We've been able to develop a relationship. We've been able to get comfortable with each other because some of the new trending investments that I'm talking about, they're a little bit more complex. And Brian, you can appreciate this. Have you ever worked with an investor that's really new and you're trying to do something that's complicated with them, and then all of a sudden there's like a little twist to the plan, and you're trying to explain to this new investor on this complicated situation of which you have no relationship and there's not as much trust there? Oh, don't worry, trust me. I'm not going to trust you. I don't even know you. Mm-hmm. And so that's the concept behind step one. When you do business with IPX here in Phoenix, properties or deeds of trust, then we will bring you down to the next path of the new trending investment. So stay tuned if you want to hear what the next upcoming trend is. If you want to go to the interactive workshop, 602-254-6244. That's 602-254-6244. If you want to get a copy of the Cromford Report, you can register at investmentpropertyexperts.com, or once again, call 602-254-6244.
Real estate investing has never been easier. Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. And now, your host, CEO Daniel Butterfield.
Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, CEO and founder of Investment Property Experts. We're here with Julie Weisenbeck, who's in charge of investor sales here at our Phoenix office at 44th McDowell. We have an interactive workshop happening November 10th, where we're going to look at the returns that we've made our investors. We also have Brian Rogerson, Senior Vice President of Wallach & Volk. He's in charge of all of our financing that our investors take advantage of so they can utilize leverage to buy their properties. Now, a couple things. We are in a fantastic trend right here in Phoenix. And I anticipate this trend's going to go for another, 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5 years. And for those of you that have studied the market, you'll understand that there are certain cities that lead other cities, okay? And so as we've been riding this wave, riding this trend, we've also been investigating, what other cities may potentially follow Phoenix. Now, some people say, well, maybe Las Vegas, right? Las Vegas, Nevada. Maybe that is an area that you should consider. Well, I, went there, I studied the market, I looked around, and, honestly, I'm not as comfortable with the, the transient type reputation that Las Vegas has, people in, people out and whatnot. I didn't pull a trigger on anything there. I've investigated some other markets. For those of you that are aware, we opened up an office in Rocky Point. It must be about 2.5 years ago. We have some investments out there, or I should say I have some investments out there. I believe in, pulling the trigger on some investments, getting to know the market, sort of figure out the process, well, especially in a new country. New countries are very different. And for those of you that aren't aware, we also have an office in the Philippines for the last 8 years. We also have investments in the Philippines, et cetera, et cetera. And so anyhow, so finally, after 2.5 years of looking at the market in Rocky Point, I have concluded that there is a trend that is occurring not occurring right now, but a trend about to occur right now. And so keep in mind, after 2.5 years of spending time there, doing business there, having an office there, hiring local people that live in Rocky Point to work for the office, dealing with a number of professionals, some good, some bad, right? Just like in Phoenix, you have good doctors, bad doctors, good attorneys, bad attorneys, et cetera, et cetera. I have assembled a team in Rocky Point. And now that we have a team out there, we, on the last 6 to 9 months, started to do some heavy research on exactly how we can participate in the upcoming trend in Rocky Point. So one thing led to another. I mean, I've analyzed, I've had to be at least 30-plus projects, like some major projects, some medium projects, some small projects, anything from a condo buying for like 130, 140 to, big stuff, like building, apartment buildings, all that kind of stuff. And as a result, I've been able to network and meet some fantastic people. In fact, my most recent trip included a meeting with the mayor of Puerto Penasco, Rocky Point. And in that meeting, I was informed of some of the schedule for what's happening with the home port. Some of the schedule of what's happening with the expansion of the border crossing between Sonoita and Arizona. And then I was also informed of when some of the resorts are going to resume construction. Now, this is a big deal. You have to understand that for the last 8 years, nothing has happened. Nothing. This has been stagnant, dead for 8 years. And now I'm not just understanding. I know what the schedule is for the home port. I know what the schedule is for resuming the construction of major resorts, okay? Major resorts. And so think about this. Statistically, if the cruise ships start coming into Puerto Penasco, once the home port is done, we're going to have an influx potential of 1.9 million people. Now, the town of Puerto Penasco only has 50,000 people that live there. And then on the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they got the influx. Like Bike Week will be crazy, all that kind of stuff. So imagine what 1.9 million more people will do to the small city of Rocky Point. And more importantly, imagine what the real estate values will do. I'm talking about houses and condos. For all those that own houses and condos, imagine what the real estate values are going to do in Puerto Penasco. Now, understand this. I met with the mayor of Puerto Penasco. I met with the secretary of Puerto Penasco. And we had actually long meetings, multiple meetings, and they see me as an investor in Rocky Point. They know that I have been analyzing Rocky Point. They know that I've been studying the trend. They know that I know that Rocky Point follows Phoenix, okay? That's kind of a well-known fact. The Rocky Point tends to follow the Phoenix market. So I've been studying. I'm considered an expert on the Phoenix real estate market. I've been featured on Fox 10 News as a real estate expert. And now I've been studying the Rocky Point market, understanding exactly where it's going, when things are going to pop. And I was fortunate enough to be able to meet with the mayor and the secretary to be able to clearly understand exactly what is happening in Rocky Point. Now, what does this mean to the investor? This means for any investor that starts to participate in Rocky Point they are going to make a windfall of returns based on what I see happening in the next 5 years. That's our window. And in fact, it's safe to say that the next 6 months is the true window, because after 6 months, mark my words, you are going to see different activity in Rocky Point that you've never seen before. Now, understand, for 8 years, nothing. And I'm saying in about 6 months, maybe 7, 8 months, 6 to 8 months, you're going to see activity in Rocky Point that has never been seen ever before in the last 8 years. Now, that is information that an investor needs, an investor wants, in order for them to be able to be 7 steps ahead. And that's investment property experts. We are always 7 steps ahead of any market. Now, what I'm going to do is we have our event, November 10th. Okay?
November 10th, correct.
Interactive workshop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the event to answer some questions. To answer some questions and give some additional information on what I just disclosed. The understanding of when the port's going to be done. The understanding of the resorts that are going to continue and resume development. The understanding of what's happening with the expansion of the border crossing. Okay? I'm going to answer some questions regarding that. I'm going to educate some of our clients, some of our investors about how and why this is important to you, because diversification, guys. Diversifying your investments into different countries is not a bad thing, as long as you know that you're protected. And trust me when I say I have it figured out down there. I have a team, I have an attorney, I have an accountant. I have it figured out down there so I can bring investors, investor capital, so that everyone's protected to make returns that are above and beyond. And I'm going to tell you why that's so important as soon as we get back from this break.
Real estate investing has never been easier. Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. And now, your host, CEO Daniel Butterfield.
Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, CEO and founder of Investment Property Experts. Just got done making some pretty bold claims. And the good news is I could back it up. And God, I'm so excited. This is going to be such a journey. The next 5 years, to be able to bring our clients into a new trending market with the information that we have, with the schedule of when the home port is going to be completed, with the schedule of when the resorts are going to resume construction, to be able to understand that market. And by the way, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's only the beginning of the projects that are planned there. I've always said that Rocky Point is going to be the next Cabo. And ever since I started doing business in Rocky Point, I've been studying the market, trying to understand it. I'll be the first to admit, made some mistakes, did some business with the wrong people, got scarred, didn't get hurt, no problem. But then I was able to find the right people, the right team. You got to have a good accountant out there. You have to have a good attorney out there, someone that you can trust. And when you buy property, I suggest owning it. I don't suggest doing bank trust. I suggest having the deed in your hands. And you know what's funny? No one thinks you can own property in Mexico. Wrong. And that's why I can just imagine how many people are thinking, yeah, whatever. How can somebody really actually know when the ports can be done? How can somebody actually know when there's going to be construction resuming on all these developments that, not all of them, but some of them that have been stagnant for 8 years? Well, I do. And in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, you'll see. And we're going to have to save the show. Archive the show, because I sound like a nut.
Okay.
And so everyone's going to think I'm a nut for the next 6 months. And then they're going to realize that I'm not a nut.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it all makes sense, because that economy has already mirrored what goes on in Arizona traditionally since I've been here since 1999. So as things were growing here, that economy grew. And it was growing amazingly, and then we hit the wall here, and they hit the wall as a result of us. But you add back to the equation that the Arizona marketplace is booming, that real estate is in the condition it's in, it's only logical that Rocky Point would be a great investment opportunity. But then add to that equation the home port and nearly 2 million visitors per year going through what is one of the best kept secrets. I have people come from all over the country, and one of the things we always do is go down and spend a weekend in Rocky Point. They are stunned that that's a drive from my house.
So think about this. In all of Mexico, there are no home ports. There's not a port that exists in the entire country of Mexico. And when I met with the mayor, he described to me exactly what they had to go through in order to get the home port to be placed in Rocky Point, because other cities were fighting for the home port. And I'm just looking at my notes here. Other cities were begging to have it. Mazatlan, I think Puerto Vallarta, and then Wyoming. I can't pronounce that one. But these cities were like fighting to get it, because every city knew that whoever gets the home port, it will change their future forever. But they were able to get it approved for Rocky Point, and honestly, it's the best because it's closest to the U.S. It's going to draw the most traffic, because now you can just do a little 3.5-hour drive, to Rocky Point, stay in your condo for a night, walk out, walk to the cruise ship, sail around, go around the world, come back, sleep at your condo, drive back home, and then all the new, the flight expansion, okay? So I've talked to the person that controls the airport, and their plans for flight expansion. They already have the carriers identified. They already have flights going to Hermosillo, Tijuana, and I think Guadalajara, but they only have it seasonal, off and on. In fact, they just cut flights off recently during the slow time, and they'll resume, I think, in March. But as this all happens, they have a carrier identified. So not only people are going to be people driving, but people are going to be flying. And you know what? It's going to be easier to drive to Rocky Point and fly anywhere in Mexico than it would be to actually fly to Phoenix. It's going to be actually cheaper and in many ways easier.
Well, the other component to Rocky Point, which you don't notice until you're down there a lot, is that there's a lot of successful families that live inland in Mexico that drive 8 hours to get to that place. They live in Mexico. They can go anywhere they want, yet they're heading north to Rocky Point. And there's tons of those families there.
Tons. So many Mexican nationals go to Rocky Point. I've personally met people that have driven, 8, 9, 10 hours. And I'm like, why didn't you go the other way? They're like, we love Rocky Point. It's a special place. It's the city with personality. It truly is. It's a very, very special place. By the way, November 10th, we have an event. And at the event, it's an interactive workshop. We're going to be talking about properties and how much money we made investors, but we're also going to do a snippet on some Rocky Point updates for those that are interested. We'll do it at the end so that people can kind of skip out if they aren't interested in making boatloads of money by investing in Rocky Point. But if you do want to make boatloads of money investing in Rocky Point with investment property experts, then you can attend an event November 10th, investmentpropertyexperts.com, or call 602-254-6244. That's 602-254-6244. So, Julie, when you meet with investors, you typically will meet with them to talk about buying a property or investing in like a deed of trust.
Okay, correct.
And so understand now that we're starting to talk about the schedule, the home port, the information we have about the boom that Rocky Point's going to go through. You are going to be faced with investors that simply want to bypass properties and or bypass deeds of trust. And what are you going to be? What are you forced? What are you going to have to tell them?
Well, we're working with our IPX family first and foremost. And the reason why is exactly what you mentioned earlier in the show, is we do support those who support us. And so we're going to offer it out to IPX family before we offer it to anybody else. And there's a reason behind that. We want to share our vision, the vision of what's happening in Rocky Point in our own backyard. I mean, Brian, you had a really, really strong, valid point as to how important this is, not only to our IPX family, but to Phoenix and Arizona in general. This is a hop, skip, and a jump away. It is in our backyard. It is a well-kept secret. It's a beautiful place to visit, and the opportunities are enormous as to what we're offering. And so it's really exciting, and I'm actually proud to say if you're one of the IPX family this is something that we're opening up to you. I mean, what an amazing opportunity.
And the thing is, when they look at the returns, it's very phenomenal. But here's what no one realizes, okay? If you just look at the straight-up returns, the amount of equity you can – okay, so it's going to work the same as our process here, okay? You're going to have an opportunity to invest and make a straight-up return, okay? And you're going to have an opportunity to invest and own, okay, real estate, get a 8 to 10% cash-on-cash return, and the growth and the appreciation, and get some equity. But here's what no one realizes: the exchange rate right now today is about 19 to $1, 19 pesos to $1. It will go back down to 11 or 12. That means anything that you buy right now today, you're buying at a 40% discount. So you consider the appreciation, you consider the schedule of when the port's coming in, you consider the continuation of the resorts being built and finished, the property sales, the new comps, and then on top of all that, add a 40% discount to every dollar you put into Port of Manasco. Guys, to learn more, 602-254-6244. Attend the November 10th interactive workshop, 5:30 p.m., investmentpropertyexperts.com or 602-254-6244.
The following program is sponsored by Investment Property Experts. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of this radio station and its affiliates. All information, materials, and estimated returns discussed or presented are for educational purposes only. All services described are optional and are provided by Investment Property Experts, its affiliates, and independent third parties. All listeners are encouraged to consult with their attorney, accountant, or financial advisors before entering into any type of investment. Millionaires are made in times like these, so if you're ready to become one, then this show is for you. This is Investment Property Experts, where you'll learn the secrets and strategies for earning top dollars in today's growing Arizona real estate market. And now, your host of Investment Property Experts, CEO Daniel Butterfield.
Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, CEO and founder of Investment Property Experts, where we sell turnkey real estate investments. Here in Phoenix, we have single-family homes that are occupied with tenants. You can buy properties with your IRA, 401k. You can buy with conventional financing with only 20% down. You can invest in deeds of trust and earn 9% return. But recently, we've also been talking about an upcoming trend that we see in Rocky Point, where we have done some research and met with the mayor as well as the city manager, and we had some intense discussions about the schedule for the home port coming in. And you have to understand that when the home port comes in, it's going to bring a potential influx of like 1.9 million people. Now, even if you cut that in half, that's tremendous. And understand that Rocky Point only has a population about 55,000, and so it's going to change the town forever. And they're ready for it. They have a plan in place that's going to be able to accommodate in stages how this influx is going to change everything. Now, a lot of people think, well, how do you really know the home port's coming in? Well, two things. Number one, you have to understand the federal government literally approved the location of the home port in Rocky Point, okay? And so this isn't something that, Penasco just started putting, what do you call, like bricks in the water, saying we're going to have a home port, right? You have to get permits and zoning, and you have to go through a lot of bureaucracy to make that happen. A lot of other cities were fighting it. So this is not a fake deal. This is real, and we now know the schedule of when the home port will be complete. Now, as a real estate investor, so I'm putting on my real estate investor hat. If I can determine exactly when a city is going to completely expand with the influx of visitors and travelers and businesses, then I can capitalize on my real estate investments in that city, okay? So that's what this is about. This is not about, oh, I happen to know. This is about, no, I know, and here's why we are going to make a huge investment play in Rocky Point. Now, when I say we, I mean IPX and IPX clients, because let me make this clear. We are committed to helping our IPX clients make these much higher returns above and beyond what they've made here in Phoenix, even on their single-family homes. And the reason is because not only can we deliver investment properties in Rocky Point with some equity that even cash flow, but every single dollar you spend in Rocky Point, you are getting a 40% discount because of the exchange rate right now, because the exchange rate over the next year, 2 years, will go back down to 11 or 12, and I don't really know when, okay? So I'm guessing a year, 2 years, something like that. It'll go back down to 11 or 12. And so basically, when you spend your dollar in Rocky Point today, you're getting a credit of 19 pesos. And then later on, when you sell, or later on, the value of the dollar is going to go back down to 11 or 12 pesos. So you therefore have gotten a 40% discount on your investment. Now, what does this mean for investors? Let me give you some examples. Again, you're going to have an opportunity to invest and get a consistent return. You're going to have the opportunity to invest and own real estate, condos or houses. And these two opportunities are beneficial to you because of the, again, expansion, appreciation. Now, one concern is, how do I know the government is not going to mess with my deed, with the ownership, with the property, and all that kind of stuff? Well, let me tell you this. After meeting with the city manager and the mayor, it was explained to me in detail exactly how and why investors that are investing in Rocky Point will never have their land, their condos, or their houses messed with as long as they buy right. When I say buy right, that means using the right attorney, using the right notario, using the right accountant that has the documentation right. Okay? And I always knew that was the case. All the people that had problems with title in Mexico had made mistakes. They didn't follow the rules. They didn't follow the process because they weren't detailed enough. I have researched and I now understand exactly the rules, the process. I have the team, the accountant, the notario out there. I have my office out there. And so I've already gone through all the hard work to figure out exactly what has to happen. If you want to learn more, call 602-254-6244. Attend the November 10th event, interactive workshop. We're going to talk about properties that we've sold in the past, how much money we've made other investors. But we're also going to do a snippet on the developments in Rocky Point so we can start to communicate to our clients for those that want to participate. Okay, so I want to talk about strategy. The strategy is this. Imagine one of the new resorts. They finished building out the whole resort, okay? And imagine, so we have this big tower, this nice resort, fresh, new, nice and neat. And then all of a sudden, Julie is meeting with some existing clients. And Julie, your presentation is going to be like this. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Investor, I understand you have a pile of money in your IRA. And they're going to say, yes. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Investor, I don't know what to do with it. I've been making negative returns, 1%, 2%. I'm worried about the stock market, blah, 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 blah. Same old story. Mm-hmm. And they're going to say, I sure would like to make a better cash-on-cash return, make a better return on my money. So Julie's going to say, tell you what IPX can do is help you buy an investment property in Rocky Point. And the reason is that you'd want to do this is because you got the home port coming in on this date, boom, and that's going to have an influx of up to 1.9 million people. And you have all this other stuff happening, which we're not talking about right now. And on top of that, you got a cash-on-cash return, you have appreciation, you have all these new developments, you have a 5-year trend that's in front of you that we just basically proved to you on paper why it's all absolutely true, with no uncertainty whatsoever. So the investor's like, oh, wow, that sounds great. And then, Julie, you're going to say, how would you like to buy an investment property at a 40% discount because of the exchange? And, of course, you have the rental income, and, of course, you have the appreciation. But on top of that, even though you own it with your IRA, how would you like to be able to use a condo in that same building? And the investor's going to say, well, I can't stay in a condo that I own with my IRA. And then you're going to say, but I have 100 other investors that have done the same thing, and we have an internal private rental pool within the same resort that's going to allow you, Mr. and Mrs. Investor, to not stay in your unit, but to stay in the other 99 units because you're part of the IPX family. So now you bought a property right before the trend took off, before the home port came in, before the 19.9 people came in, with a 40% discount with equity, and you can cash flow, and your investment is allowing you to actually stay in Rocky Point without violating any IRS code. That's right. It does not get any better than that. IPX, don't forget it. We identify the trends. We know how to make money. If you want to get involved, 602-254-6244. The November 10th event is where you need to be.
Real estate investing has never been easier. Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. And now, your host, CEO Daniel Butterfield.
Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, CEO and founder of Investment Property Experts. So we were just talking about some of the strategies that we have for investing in Rocky Point. And the reason we're talking about this is because after meeting with the mayor and the city manager, we understand the schedule. And I'm talking about the schedule for the home port to be coming into Rocky Point. But again, guys, we can't make it that simple. There's other stuff that has to happen when the home port comes in. There's other amenities that have to be created in Rocky Point in order to accommodate the influx of traffic. And so I had discussions with the mayor and the city manager of what the plan is and how they are going to roll this out in phases. And I also was informed the continuation of all these resorts have been sitting stagnant for 8 years, that they're going to start finishing them off again. Now, that is the true sign. When they start finishing off these resorts and they start finishing, and they finish the home port, I mean, that's a big sign of the resurrection of Rocky Point. And that's why, luckily, I was informed of this at this time. So now we, IPX and the IPX team members, family members, can take advantage of the boom before the boom. This is like 2009 all over again. 2009, Phoenix got crushed. 2008, 2007, Phoenix got crushed. 2009, everyone said, I'm not sure. We started to invest 9, 10, 11. We killed it. And everyone said, well, I wish I would have known. Well, you should have come to an event to let me inform you why you should be investing now and not waiting until the true hype comes to the table. The same thing's happening right now in Rocky Point. So I just presented a strategy where investors can invest with their IRA. We can create a private rental pool where 100 investors buy with their IRAs, and then instead of going there and staying in their own condo, they can stay in one of the other investors' condos, because my office in Rocky Point has rental experience to be able to manage the private rental pool to be able to do this. So you get the benefit of the investment, you have the benefit of the rental, the cash flow, the appreciation, the 40% discount on the exchange rate. Oh, and you have a place to go with your family to enjoy Rocky Point. And let me add one more thing. We're also going to provide financing in Rocky Point, which virtually doesn't exist. So now investors don't have to have $200,000-$400,000 to buy a beautiful condo. They can actually get in for less, just like what we do here in Phoenix when you buy investment properties with your IRA. 602-254-6244 or investmentpropertyexperts.com to learn more. You got to register for the November 10th event. This is the only time that we're going to talk about the next steps of what's happening in Rocky Point. November 10th, our office, 602-254-6244.
So I understand you can own property, utilizing the self-directed IRA, but there's no restrictions of that property being located outside of the United States?
Okay, so here's how it works. Number one, you create a Mexican corporation, okay? In order to do that, you have to get your temporary visa, which is called your FMM. You can get it for 180 days, and you can extend. So once you get your FMM, you can go ahead and create a Mexican corporation to sign legal documents in Mexico. Make sure you work with the right attorney. And by the way, I can provide that for you. Turnkey, ready to go, no problems, okay? And by the way, if you go there as an American, just like here, have you ever worked with an attorney for the first time? They're like, okay, my rate's here. And then after you've known them for a year or two, you're like, okay, now, you have a discount, right? I have achieved all the discounts that anyone needs. Any one of our clients needs to do all of this stuff. On top of that, we're going to take care of everything just like we do here. So what happens now is you get your FMM, you get your Mexican corporation. You can use your Mexican corporation to buy your piece of real estate. But here's how it's structured. Your checkbook control LLC, your IRA is going to own your checkbook control LLC, and then your checkbook control LLC is going to effectively own your Mexican corporation. Now, keep in mind, you have to have two owners of Mexican corporation. And so you have to have a second, like a 99% and a 1% there, but we can solve that problem, no problem. So that's how you own property in Mexico.
What I think is so fantastic about this is that you've already done all this due diligence. You know exactly what you're talking about, and this is exciting because this is actually new to me, Daniel. And so as I'm sitting here listening to you speak about this and the excitement, I'm also understanding and learning that, wow, there's a lot to know, and you know exactly what that is, and you put all the pieces together.
And I'm not sure if you know the real story, but when I first got involved, a couple of buddies of mine said, hey, you want to buy a condo with us? And it wasn't very expensive. And I said, sure. And then they proceeded to tell me we have title insurance, and we have this, and we're going to own it, and all that kind of stuff. And no, they said bank trust. Bank trust you can't own, and we have title insurance. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I'll do it, but let me just do my research. There's no title insurance, okay? Yeah, you can use a bank trust, but you don't own it, and you can own property in Mexico. And so I didn't have time to fix that deal. By the time I bought my second deal, I had the corporation already set up, and I had the deed. And even to this day, every time I talk to somebody, they still say, oh, you can't own property in Mexico. Wrong. You can. You just have to know what you're doing. And so that's the system I have set up.
Yeah, and so it's a technicality because the LLC owns the corporation, which is legal in Mexico. It's legally formed and organized. So through that mechanism, the self-directed IRA works just like it would here in Phoenix.
It's almost like owning a property with your LLC in Phoenix, which everyone does. No different. You still own it. You just own it through your LLC. And so that is the system that I recommend for investing in Rocky Point. But keep in mind, if you have a Mexican corporation, then what you have to do is you have to maintain some accounting records. No problem. For a very nominal fee, our accountant can handle all of that for you to make sure that you are protected. And let me tell you this, it's better to do it that way because even people with bank trusts, they don't pay their annual fees for the bank trust. And then once they do that, they're in default with the federal government. And that's why the federal government can actually take away your property. Because if you don't pay them the nominal fees for the bank trust and you don't stay in like the corporate governance, you're going to have a problem. And everyone's like, oh, well, they can just come in and just take anything they want. No, it's not like that. They follow their rules, and that means that you have to follow their rules too. 602-254-6244. Attend the November 10th event to learn more about Rocky Point, but also we're going to discuss the properties that other investors have bought and sold and how much money they've made.
Well, very, very much, Daniel, like how we've put things together here. IPX, we have a structure. We have all the people and all of the pieces of that puzzle put together so we can assist you in a turnkey solution. Same thing in Rocky Point. It sounds like you've done it.
I've learned
once again
a while ago that the best way we can make our clients happy is for us to do everything. That means that we're the only ones that could actually mess it up. And we're the only ones that can fix it. But if you allow us to drive, okay, of course our clients are in control, and they manage us, and they can fire us, and they don't give up control. But if they allow us to do everything from start to finish, from A to B, then we can get it right the first time, and we don't have to have any problems to fix later. 602-254-6244 or investmentpropertyexperts.com.
Real estate investing has never been easier. Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. And now, your host, CEO, Daniel Butterfield.
Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, CEO and founder of Investment Property Experts. So we were doing some research on the difference between an election year and a non-election year. And the research yielded that the market, the real estate market, will appreciate by 0.22% less in an election year than in a non-election year. And so we figure, well, this must be the reason why everyone's nervous about the real estate market. But then we concluded that on average, this 0.22% decrease in appreciation results in a $600 lesser appreciation in the election year versus non-election year. And so we thought, okay, I guess it isn't that big of a deal. But being the company we are, we decided to come up with a what do you call an incentive? We're calling a plan. We came up with a plan.
A plan.
Okay, and the plan is to offer the election year economic relief plan, otherwise known as the ERP. And so the election year economic relief plan means that we are going to offset your 0.22% lesser appreciation, otherwise known as $600, by offering 6 months worth of property management complimentary. On top of that, we're going to offer a 10% net down payment strategy for investors that want to invest. Now, the 6 months, $600 value, okay, that's not bad. But the 10% down, that literally will double your investment. In fact, I'm going to let Brian explain, okay? Brian, if you're doing conventional financing, then what's the least amount of down payment that you can offer through conventional financing?
20%. Okay,
so if I can offer, and again, I'm not trying to fight with you, man, okay? This is not a competition. We got, no. In all seriousness, now, if I can figure out a way to get our clients into a property with just 10%, would you agree that that would nearly double their return on that same investment?
Yeah, because they'd have less money in with the large value of the property working on appreciation and a tenant that's actually making the debt service on it anyways.
Right. So by
the opportunity to invest into another property.
That's right. You could do 2 instead of 1. So if you literally put only half as much down on your investment, you are going to make about twice as much return on that same investment through this program. So we have the 6 months property management, complimentary, 10% net down payment. But here's the deal. You have to reserve your property by, Julie, when was that?
Thanksgiving Day. So we'd like you to reserve that property. I believe we decided 3 p.m. Thanksgiving
Was it 2 or 3 p.m.? I'm trying to figure out when we're eating.
I know. We need to make sure we can get home to spend time with our families and have dinner. So let's just say Thanksgiving Day.
Okay, Thanksgiving Day. You know what? Let's say 3 p.m. because we have to get out of here at a decent time. Thanksgiving Day. You can reserve up to that day. You can reserve the property to qualify for this plan. That's 10% down net. That's also 6 months complimentary property management. And then the other caveat is you have to close on your property by New Year's Eve, right?
By New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm.
Now that time I know that's noon, right?
Right.
Okay. Now Brian, do you know why they have to close by noon on New Year's Eve?
So they can record.
Nope, because that's when we're going to start drinking.
That's when the champagne bottle is open.
I've been around you guys. You probably already started.
We better change it to 10. So that is the ERA plan, and we're just trying to give every investor a reason to not say no, go above and beyond to participate in this. Give us a call, 602-254-6244, or ask for Julie Weisenbach. She can walk you through the plan, describe the dates of when you have to reserve, when you have to close. Again, 602-254-6244 or investmentpropertyexperts.com.
I'd love to hear from you guys. Please give me a call. I'm more than happy to explain this plan and everything else that IPX has to offer. We could do that right over the phone. We can meet face-to-face, one-on-one. I would love to get familiar with what you are actually trying to accomplish, what your personal goals are, so that we can build this relationship and build that confidence within who IPX is, what it is we have to offer. And you know what? Who doesn't want to take advantage of 6 months complimentary property management, as well as doubling the return on your investment, give me a call. Let's talk. Let's get acquainted and make this happen. You can also attend our event on November 11th. It's at 5:30 p.m., and we would love to have you join us. You'll get to meet our team. You'll get to understand more about what Daniel's been talking about in Rocky Point and what it is that we're doing there. So, you know what, take the time. All you have to do is make a call. This is all complimentary to get familiar with who we are and what we're all about.
It's all about relationship.
Correct.
Brian, I have a question for you. Have you noticed people acting differently in the election year?
Yeah, they're sitting around like the sky is falling, as if the president has something to do with running the United States anyways. And it's not really relevant because the call comes down to really the Senate and the House and all the other things that go with it. So it is like that. And I will say this, from a separate entity, Wallach & Volk is a lender, separately licensed. We do a lot of business with your clients. And I like to come to your events to get my feel as to what's going on, what are people thinking, because we all have a reputation to protect. And the one thing that's amazing to me is that it's an open invitation, and a lot of the people that attend these workshops are existing clients. Now, in reality, in a sales industry, you don't normally see a lot of workshops or events that are built around all the existing clients meeting people that haven't invested yet. So that's kind of the transparency about what you do here. And I've been at those events where you tell the story where the place flooded or the water heater broke down or the air conditioning was out on day one, and that things do go wrong, but the difference is that you take care of that stuff. Other places, they can't tell that story. Their story is, we disappeared, we made our money, we ran, and you'll never find us again. And that's not what IPX is all about.
We stand behind our product, behind our houses, and the thing is, when you do good business, you get more business. And I realize that not every company is like that, but it's really helped us progress. It's helped us get to the next level. It's helped us be successful, and you know what? It makes us feel good because by doing business that way, we don't, we're going to see our clients in the grocery store.
Well, not only that, doing the right thing is easy. It just feels good. And so even though, like Brian mentioned, things do go wrong, this is the real world. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. Life is life. And in real estate, sometimes things happen. But we will stand behind everything. I mean, we are real people too, and we believe in being ethical and doing the right thing, and that makes our lives very easy, doing the right thing.
So we have November 10th, the interactive workshop. Now, at this workshop, we're going to look at a bunch of properties that we sold to investors, and then we're going to take a look at how much they have resold those properties for. We're going to evaluate the returns on those properties so you can see how much money you can make in real estate realistically. Now, I know that the property sold before, but keep in mind the technical indicators in the market right now today are mimicking what the market was the last couple of years. And so now's the time to take advantage of your second chance. November 10th, interactive workshop, investmentpropertyexperts.com or 602-254-6244. We hope to see you November 10th.
Real estate investing has never been easier. Welcome back to Investment Property Experts. And now, your host, CEO Daniel Butterfield.
Welcome to Investment Property Experts. This is Daniel Butterfield, CEO and founder of Investment Property Experts. So we just got done talking about the ERA plan, otherwise known as the Election Year Economic Relief Plan, where you can get into a property with a net down payment of 10%. You're able to get 6 months worth of complimentary property management. And now Julie Weisenbach has some properties to highlight. Julie, what do you got for us?
Well, first thing I'd like to say is if you're interested in anything that I'm sharing with you today, please call because my phone is going to explode and I would like to make sure anyone who's interested has an opportunity. But also that these are not the only properties in our inventory. We have probably close to about 300 right now, and we are purchasing more as we speak. So with that said, my two favorites right now, first address, 2631, that's 2631 West Atlanta Avenue. This is in Phoenix. located at 27th Avenue and Southern. The reason I chose this property is based on our Cromford market reports, we are seeing an estimated appreciation of 17%.
Wait a minute. I'm looking at the flyer. I think there's a typo. It says, I think that one is supposed to be a 2. It says 175,000. That one has to be a 2.
Daniel, you didn't even let me get to that. My next
No,
point.
I'm concerned. If you say that on the air, then we have to honor. I just said it on the air. Oh,
it is.
So now, if you want a $100,000 discount on this property that appreciates 17%, call Julie. Wow, now your phone's really going to blow up.
It really is. $175,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home built in 2005. This house has just under 1,800 square feet. It really is a great home. And one other highlight I'd like to point out is that the contract ratio for this zip code, 85041, is at 236 currently. That is amazing. Daniel, help me explain that anything over 100 is a frenzy. And so 236 is...
236 contract ratio?
Yes.
Okay, so contract ratio is a relationship between pending sales and active listings. So if you have, let's say, 19 active listings in a zip code and only one pending sale, then the contract ratio might be like 50. And that means that there's not a lot of activity in that zip code, not a lot of demand. So if you have the opposite, 19 pending sales, one active listing, then that's where you're going to have like a 236 contract ratio, which means every time there's a property that goes up for sale, there's somebody literally making an offer, and it's going to the pending status. So you got a 236 contract ratio. You have a historical appreciation of 17%. You have also a price point of 175, which I believe in our Cromford report, it says that the inventory levels of 175 and below had decreased by over 40 or 50%. And so you're buying a property where inventory has reduced by half, demand is unbelievable, and the appreciation in that neighborhood is unbelievable. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's a 2005 built.
2005.
1,756 square feet.
Right.
So if this was a property on the MLS being sold to an owner-occupant and not something that you've secured and is not on the MLS, that property would sell for $10,000 to $15,000 above the list price to an owner-occupant. You can't find a $175,000 home if you're a owner-occupied, first-time home buyer trying to find a home. This is what's unique about IPX. Your properties are secured by you through other means. They're not sold on the MLS.
Right. And you know what? This property right now, based on comps, we recently pulled, yesterday pulled comps on this property, 190, and we're selling it for 175. That's 15,000.
And that's exactly what Brian said.
That's
15,000.
right. And so not only the point about it not being on MLS, it's only offered to IPX customers, but if it was offered on MLS, there would probably be a bidding war on this property, and you wouldn't get the value at all. And
the exit strategy on this property is an investor is going to buy this property with 10 to 20% down. The tenant's going to pay their mortgage for a number of years, say 3 to 5 years. 5 years from now, a property like that could sell $260,000, $275,000,
right.
And all they had invested was, $17,000, $18,000 net.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, that's right. The 10%. I forgot about the year plan.
Oh. Okay. Well, and see, this is why it's so important for you to come in, pick up the phone, call, schedule an appointment with me. I would love to meet with you. We will go over all of the Cromford market reports. We'll go over the 2-year projection for this property or any other property you'd like to hear about. And I know that I was just going crazy over the contract ratio for this property. I just looked at the contract ratio for this other home that I chose to broadcast today in Gilbert. The reason I chose this one is it has been forever since IPX has had a property that is this caliber, and in Gilbert, contract ratio is 300. So even stronger than the property I just announced, and this address
300 contract ratio?
300 contract ratio. Daniel, it's in Gilbert.
Oh.
Zip code 85295. That's why.
We haven't had a Gilbert property for probably 2 years.
I know. And this one will probably be gone quick. Maybe by the time I get off the radio show and back to my desk, will it be sold? But I'd like to share it with you. It's 2547 South Ponderosa Drive. Like I said, Gilbert, 85295. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. This home was built in 2001, and it has about the same square footage as the previous property I mentioned. The price is a little higher, and the reason why is because of the location. Remember, you can't buy a house in Scottsdale for the same price you can get, elsewhere. This is Gilbert. Very, very popular neighborhood, and we're asking $240. Value, mind you, just like we talked about the other property, is at $255. So you are seeing great equity, and I have the comparables and all of the documentation to stand behind everything in both of these properties.
I just calculated the return on the 10% net on this 175 property, and it's like over an estimated 100% return annually, because you're only putting 17.5. Now you have to do some closing costs in there, but already with like 30% down, we had a projected estimated return of 66%. That's with 30% down.
30% would be our private financing.
Our private financing. Mm-hmm. And so, that makes sense. That'd be over a triple-digit annual rate return because you're only putting 17.5 down, and plus the closing costs. This is, again, you have to reserve by Thanksgiving Day.
Remember, too, at our event, November 10th, we will be going over properties just like this that individuals have purchased and sold, and we will be talking about how much money they actually made. So that's pretty exciting stuff.
The other thing to factor in is, because, I deal obviously in the full spectrum of real estate financing, IPX deals only in the sweet spot. The properties that you guys invest into and sell are always the properties that will sell. They're not $900,000 houses that you got to hope for appreciation to make it work. You're dealing in a wheelhouse that is always going to appreciate. This is the part of the segment that didn't get hurt as much even in the crash.
Right. It bounced back the fastest. It didn't get hurt as much. We look at the technical indicators. We're only buying in neighborhoods that have high contract ratios, neighborhoods that are not considered the barrio, quality tenants, starter home neighborhoods, right? Not like North Scottsdale, $700,000, but we do a lot of research and we put a lot of thought into our investment strategy because we want to make sure that our investments, we put our money where our mouth is. We're buying hundreds of properties right now. By the end of the year, I hope to have over 1,000 properties in our inventory. It's just that they keep on going out the door as soon as they come in the door. So that's the challenge. Guys, if you want to get involved, if you want to pad your retirement, 602-254-6244. Come to the event November 10th. Take a look at the interactive workshop. Learn about Rocky Point, investmentpropertyexperts.com, 602-254-6244. Phoenix.